We continue in the 32nd chapter, the heart of Tanya, Perek Lev, and indeed it is speaking about the heart of love. Actually, yesterday we spoke about hate. Hating someone who has fallen off the path, who is your kind of study partner, yeshiva partner, shall we say, a learned scholar who has gone off the path. As the Talmud tells us, you're supposed to hate that individual. Now, what that actually means, we're going to get in tomorrow's class. Today, the Alter Rebbe brings out, well, that is specific in speaking only someone who is your companion, your equal, and again, a Torah scholar. However, if someone isn't your companion, someone who is somewhat or considered ignorant of Judaism, or better yet, they're ignorant enough that their deliberate transgressions are regarded as inadvertent acts. Why? Because they're unaware of the gravity of the sin. Now, you might know what the Torah tells you, you do this sin, you get this punishment. That's not awareness of the gravity. Awareness of the gravity is that, like, you're steeped in the teachings to the degree that you understand and appreciate it. So that's the first thing, that this individual that we're talking about today, that their deliberate transgressions are regarded as inadvertent acts because they don't really know better. Even though, again, they might know what the book says, but or what the punishment is, but it doesn't really make an impression upon them in any real way. Second point is that this person is not intimate with you as a close companion. So, which is probably the regard that most people we will have a relationship with, right? There are the few, very few that we have a very close relationship with who are our equal, and that they're, if you're, again, a Torah scholar with another Torah scholar, meaning that their inadvertent sins are considered deliberate sins. So how many people will that be in your lifetime? Or it could be none. But in the Torah scholar's life, it'll be just a few. And again, intimate with, meaning close. So since that's not who we're talking about, and that will be in tomorrow's class, where there is an element of hate, and we'll see what that element of hate is, as we started yesterday. But today we're not speaking of that individual. Speaking about, as we just said, someone who's not your companion or equal, someone whose their deliberate sins are considered inadvertent because they don't understand or don't really appreciate the gravity of the sin, and you're not close with them. So, such an individual, the Alter Rebbe says, hate would be unjustifiable. Since no sin that they commit is considered deliberate. Therefore, there's no reason to keep your distance from this individual out of fear that maybe their evil ways will affect you. As the Mishnah says, don't fraternize with a wicked person. That means fraternize with a wicked person doesn't mean just any wicked person. It means someone who can have an effect upon you. Which means, if you're a Torah scholar or learned or submerged in your Jewish life to such a degree that that's your whole life, well, then someone who was on that kind of level and then moved away from it, well, that person might, and who was close to you, might have a negative effect upon you. But again, that's very few and far between. So then what should be the way? In other words, if you're not supposed to, there's nothing to hate here in this individual. So what do we need to do? The contrary of this situation, Hillel said in the Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, be the disciples of Aaron. Aaron, who was the high priest, of course, loving peace and pursuing peace. loving creatures and drawing them nearer to Torah. And the Alter Rebbe points out that the term that the Mishnah uses is Oyevus Abriyos. To love Briyos. Briyos means that they're creations. In other words, their only real value or overt value, not real value, but overt value is that they're just creations of God. Now, they're so distant from, from God in the sense of scholarship and total submerged in their commitment, that's their virtue. So what do you need to do? You need to attract them with strong cords of love. You need to approach them with love. And as Alter Rebbe says, that perhaps that you will be able to actually have an effect on them and draw them close to Torah and the service of God. Now, perhaps is only because, of course, the other person has freedom of choice. But our attitude towards them, right? And even if you fail, you haven't forfeited the merit, the merit of the mitzvah of, Avos Reim, neighborly love, of Avos Yisrael. You have that. It's very powerful. You've done your part. And there's no hate here, just pure love to such an individual.